Tonight, the devastating impact of the Ahmedabad air disaster. The Indian community in Scotland speak of their sadness.
I was just crying and crying. I could not believe that this has happened. I have to repeat myself, keep on listening to the news.
Also making the headlines, the Conservative leader calls for an end to the windfall tax on oil and gas companies. An intellectual giant tributes to Scotland's first black professor, Sir Geoff Palmer, who's died aged 85. And in sports, Celtic open talks with a Swedish international as Brendan Rodgers looks to bolster his squad. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The Indian community in Scotland have been speaking of their shock and sadness after the Ahmedabad air disaster, which left at least 260 people dead. 53 British citizens were on board the flight, which had been bound for Gatwick, but crashed shortly after takeoff. Investigators trying to establish the cause of the crash have found the black box from the Boeing 787. Our senior reporter, Gordon Cree's report contains footage of the accident.
At the Hindu Mandir in Glasgow today, they were mourning one of India's darkest days. For members of this temple, there was devastation at the tragedy and the realisation of personal connections to those who've been lost.
I was just crying and crying. I could not believe that this has happened. I have to repeat myself, keep on listening to the news, that this is such a terrible thing has happened there. And then start looking who was all coming. Lots of friends was there on the plane.
Today, India's Prime Minister visited the scene of the crash. The tail of the stricken aeroplane is still lodged into a hostel for medical staff, where it came down just moments after departing from Ahmedabad Airport, bound for London yesterday morning. Relatives of those who've died queued up to give their DNA to help identify the bodies. At the Mahanji Centre of Benevolence near Huntly, it all feels very close to home.
This is a flight we take very often, and this is from India to UK. There are about 54 flights or more in a week, so we have family taking it as well. So it's quite concerning.
And here too, a chant for the victims.
This is the Mahamrityunjaya chant, and it actually translates to the great victory over death. And this is a very special chant that's usually chanted to prevent, but also in the cases of premature or untimely death. So as an offering to those people who've left, we've chanted this in the temple now.
The aircraft involved was a 787 Dreamliner, which are continuing to operate as normal around the world. This one left Glasgow this morning, bound for Florida, while another arrived in Edinburgh from Qatar.
Well, this is a 787. This one's just landed from Doha. These massive aircraft are becoming a frequent sight at Scotland's main airports on the long-haul routes. Now, until this week, no Dreamliner had ever been involved in an accident. Indeed, Boeing says that across the world, more than 1 billion people have flown on one.
Restoring passenger confidence will be one of the aims of the investigation into what went so disastrously wrong in India. Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, is calling for the windfall tax on oil and gas companies to be scrapped. In her speech to the party's Scottish conference, she accused Labour of killing the industry by extending the levy to 2030. Ms Badenoch also insisted she can win back the trust of voters ahead of the Holyrood election next year. Our political correspondent, Ewan Petrie, reports.
This was Kemi Badenoch's first speech to the Conservative Scottish Conference as UK leader.
Thank you, everybody.
She admitted her party had got some policies wrong, including the windfall tax on oil and gas companies.
Labour have extended and increased this tax, and I'm afraid they are killing the oil and gas industry. So today, I say enough. Labour must remove the energy profits levy.
The party leader also called for an end to the ban on new drilling licences. And 1 week on from being pushed into 4th place in the Hamilton by-election, she took aim at Nigel Farage's Reform Party.
Reform are not a Conservative party. This is a party that's talking about nationalisation. Nigel Farage is talking about nationalising oil and gas companies. I don't think politicians messing around with business is what's going to fix energy in our country.
It won more votes than you in Hamilton, though, so that message is appealing to a certain number of voters.
But it didn't win in Hamilton. And at
it
the
got
end
more
of the
than
day,
you, though,
that may be
you're a distant fourth in Hamilton.
That may be the case, but we have, even when we were polling at our very highest, we never won that seat. So we need to start focusing on what is going to be right for the people of Scotland, not just saying whatever to win votes. That is dishonest.
This conference is also about laying clear dividing lines with opposition parties ahead of the Holyrood election next year.
You still believe that you can get second place, you can retain that status of opposition within Holyrood next year?
Well, you know, people who are voting Reform, many of them are doing so from different party loyalties. They're harming various parties, including our own. We understand, I understand, Kemi understands why people are disaffected and disillusioned. Reform are not the answer.
The Conservatives are keen to stress the party is under new management.
You are an inspiration.
Both leaders know the scale of the challenge facing them to inspire voters. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Tributes are being paid to Scotland's first black professor, Sir Geoff Palmer, after his death at the age of 85. Sir Geoff, who was Chancellor at Heriot-Watt University, was also well known for his human rights advocacy. He'd been battling prostate cancer for a number of years, but despite any challenges thrown his way, was renowned for his positive attitude. Lewis Mickey reports.
An inspiration, a pioneer and an intellectual giant. Just some of the words used to describe Sir Geoff Palmer today.
He won an award from the Edinburgh Council and this is where we're in City Chambers.
Family friend Faisal Chowdhury broke the news of his death at the age of 85 on social media.
We treated him like a family and he's been a family member. Sir Geoff has attended every single one of our family weddings, family events. So to me, he was a father figure. He's always been a fighter. He's one guy who always had a big smile in his face, even though when he was facing racism or people saying negative things to him, he would always smile.
As Scotland's first black professor, Sir Geoff truly was a trailblazer. He moved to the UK from Jamaica as a teenager. His work in grain science and technology had an impact across the brewing industry, and his campaigning for the rights of the black community has left a legacy.
His story needs to be told. His story needs to be shared for everyone to hear, and hopefully for that to then inspire them to say, you know what, it's tough, but keep going.
We must keep these statues, and we must put plaques on them which explains the actions of these people.
Sir Geoff chaired an Edinburgh Council review group into the city's colonial past. The group recommended the city apologise for its role, but rather than pull down statues linked to colonisation, that it should recognise the history.
And he came up with this idea around, let's not pull it down, let's just put an extra bit of information on it, because we can't erase history. History is part of us.
After a period of ill health following being diagnosed with prostate cancer, Sir Geoff died under the care of the Marie Curie Centre. He leaves behind his wife Margaret, their 3 children, and his grandchildren.
A body which was discovered in a wooded area during the search for a missing teenager has been formally identified as Cole Cooper. Cole's family were notified of the discovery of a body in Banknock last Friday. The 19-year-old had been missing for 4 weeks. Police say the death is being treated as unexplained and inquiries are continuing. A man and woman have died from suspected carbon monoxide inside a tent at the side of a loch. Emergency services were called to the east side of Loch Awe in Dalmally at the weekend. A 55-year-old man and 47-year-old woman were found dead. It's understood a camping stove was the cause of the carbon monoxide. A couple who took the UK and Scottish governments to court over cuts to winter fuel payments have lost their legal challenge. Pensioners Peter and Florence Fanning from Courtbridge claimed both administrations acted unlawfully in how they decided to implement the policy and failed to properly consult pensioners. Lady Hood upheld government submissions that correct procedures were followed and the case was dismissed. Council staff are to be balloted on a 2-year pay offer. The new deal from the local government employers COSLA would see a 4% pay rise this year and a 3.5% next year. The union Unison has recommended members vote to accept. The population of the island of Canna in the Inner Hebrides is just 22, but there's renewed optimism for its future after the National Trust for Scotland spent years restoring the home of the late Gaelic scholar John Lorne Campbell and his wife. 3 children under the age of 4 are now living in the island with their families. It means the mothballed school could soon reopen. From Canna, Ian Ramage reports.
A meticulous 9-year conservation project complete, and a rare archive showcasing a couple's mission to preserve Gaelic and record the natural wonder of Canna is back on display. Gaelic song and language fill the air, audio devices triggered when visitors move about the house. Its archive is considered hugely significant.
It is focused on Gaelic affairs, but always in the wider context. For example, of what had been happening in the past in Europe, the links between a place where we're standing here today and France and Rome and Spain.
Canna's population has grown a little, now 22, in an era of challenge to retain the lifeblood of such communities. It's celebrated 2 newborn this year, making it 3 under the age of 4. And reason to reopen the mothballed school.
If we have housing, if we have economic opportunities, and if we have a school, and now we've got a community-owned shop and we've got a community-owned visitor hub, people can come and look at the island and make a plan about how they might want to be here.
Specially composed for the museum reopening. A Gaelic love letter to the late Campbell couple for their contribution to the island and its Gaelic heritage. Ian Ramage, STV News.
The Scottish Refugee Festival has begun, kick-starting 9 days of dance performances, film screenings, visual art and exhibitions across the country. The festival's first day saw the official opening of a collaborative new exhibition, Live in Art, at the Centre for Creative Arts in Glasgow. It showcases contemporary artwork by displaced artists from across the world.
It's really important to come together to celebrate the skills and talents of refugees, also the welcome of local communities, and have this moment of showcase as well of day-to-day moments of welcome and realities that everyone are part of.
They can express feelings, emotions and culture. Sometimes the people want to tell through art the political stuff as well.
Now, we all know Scotland is the home of football and golf, but basketball? Well, transatlantic research has proved just that. Researchers have discovered the game was invented by a Scot, one Dr. James Naismith, nearly 130 years ago. To find out more, Raheem Cham went to the home of Scotland's only professional basketball team, the Caledonian Gladiators.
It's a sport worth almost $100 billion in the US, and you could assume that's where it originated. But research by students on both sides of the Atlantic has proved the game's origin lie with Scotland, not the States.
Basketball has strong links to Scotland.
They found out it was invented by Dr. James Naismith, born to a Glaswegian couple in Canada in 1861. He studied and taught PE at the University in Montreal until 1890, before moving to Massachusetts, and it was there he came up with the first rules of basketball in 1891.
What we found from the research is that basketball has very strong Scottish roots and was largely influenced by Scotland. The game is largely distinctly based on one person's religious ideology, his upbringing, his background, his personal moral, his family values, it's the work ethic, it's the Scottish work ethic, most importantly. And without it, I don't believe basketball would exist, and for that reason, Scotland deserves recognition.
So let's head down into the fan zone.
The students shared their findings during a tour of the Gladiators Stadium.
We certainly feel here we represent the full country. We're the only pro team in Scotland, so that's pretty cool. And we feel like we're inspiring all those kids that come to the games, and we really try to embrace our Scottish roots, so it's really important for us. But yeah, being a professional here is unbelievable.
I think for us,
the notion of the home of basketball and indeed the inventor of basketball coming from the west of Scotland and Glasgow, that can only add to a dimension for us.
Basketball is naturally a game for a tall person, and as the shortest person in the court, I'm taking on Alex, the tallest person in the court. Learning Scotland's roots in the sport has given the students a fresh perspective.
James Naismith was a Scottish man. He grew up in a Scottish family, a Scottish town, and that's not something that is widely known. If you look it up on the internet, it has nothing to say about that. So I think that's something that I can help spread, especially at the University of Kansas, where we're just basketball, basketball.
The research is a real slam dunk, proof that basketball has its roots firmly in Scotland, a fact the stateside students will share when they return home. Raheem Cham, STV News, Glasgow.
Now, Ronnie's here with his final sports desk of the week, and it's fair to say you're covering hunters of sports.
Pure hunters, John. Football, golf, rugby, cycling, basketball we've had, and American football, and more cycling. Let's get to it, shall we?
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Summer Sale.
Good evening. We start with football, and Celtic are in talks with Swedish international Benjamin Nygren as Brendan Rodgers hones in on his next summer recruit. The winger scored 16 goals last season for Danish side Nordsjælland, as well as scoring twice in 4 international appearances. Nordsjælland have given Celtic permission to speak to the 23-year-old, with plenty of interest from across Europe in the attacker. The SPFL say more banning orders should be handed out to fans who take part in unacceptable conduct at football matches. That includes pyrotechnics and flares, as well as the throwing of missiles and pitch invasions. The league body says it's dangerous, irresponsible and selfish, and is working with Police Scotland and the government to crack down on the behaviour. The SPFL also confirmed they have taken disciplinary action against Celtic, Aberdeen and Partick Thistle for incidents at the end of the season. Now, it feels like there's winners and losers, and that's a horrible place to be. The admission from SFA Chief Executive Ian Maxwell as he spoke about the recent ban on transgender women for the first time. The policy change means only those born biologically female will be permitted to play in competitive games from grassroots to professional level. Maxwell says it was a tough decision and can understand why some now feel disenfranchised.
It's a really difficult decision, it's a really difficult area, it's a really emotive area, it's a really divisive area, which is disappointing. I understand the frustration. It feels like there have been winners and losers in this, which is a horrible place to be. We need to devise a policy which, as I said, looks at safety, looks at fairness, looks at inclusion. We will not get those things right. There will be elements that feel disenfranchised, but there will be opportunities for them to play, and we'll publish the policy more in due course.
Rory Darge says he's at the best place to play his best rugby after signing a new and improved deal with Glasgow Warriors until 2028. The open-side flanker, who made his debut 4 years ago, has made 67 appearances at Scotstoun, including playing an integral role in last season's URC title win. He was also recently made captain of Scotland's Pacific Tour next month. She thought she'd never cycle again after a horrific traffic accident, but Scottish cyclist Kate Richardson is now targeting a spot at next year's Commonwealth Games. After battling back from severe injury and mental health problems, the Glasgow rider recently made history by becoming the first Scot to win the Tour de Féminin in the Czech Republic. She spoke to our reporter, Iona Brownlee.
And it's celebrations all round for Kate Richardson as she takes the win.
She's one of the stars of Scottish cycling and no stranger to surging away from the field. But just over a year ago, Kate Richardson faced her biggest uphill challenge yet. During a final practice race for the Tour of Britain, she was hit by a car, leaving her with a fractured scapula, a concussion and multiple road burns.
The first I knew of it was when the driver made contact with me. And yeah, he came back and he just verbally abused me. I, at the time, tried to bounce back from that like a normal injury, but I think I really realised a few months down the line that, that wasn't a normal situation and I needed a lot more support than just trying to get back on and get to a competition. That really took an effect on me. I mean, physically, of course, but more so mentally. I was scared to ride on the road and I just lost my love for the sport a lot. And
I couldn't have foreseen the journey I was going to go on mentally to get back to where I'm at, and it took almost a year before I felt like myself again. If you'd asked me in January, didn't think I'd be at the front of a race again. You know, I had no idea what direction my career was going in. I just couldn't foresee how I was going to move forward, but it all happened pretty quickly. I finally got into a rhythm of racing.
And now, just 1 year after that crash, she's become the first Scottish winner of the Tour de Féminin in the Czech Republic, standing on top of the podium in the yellow jersey.
To pull that off in that team with some of my best friends who really rode out their skin to help protect me, yeah, it meant so much to me, and also my family who have lived through the last year with me. I wouldn't ever want to wish to relive what I've been through, but it's not until you sort of get through those moments that you realise just how strong you are.
The Glasgow-born rider is now eyeing success on the track at next year's Commonwealth Games.
I'd really like to think that next year I could be a medal contender in a few events, and we've got people like Katie Archbold, Nia Evans. It's a very established team. If my family were in the crowd and we could win and hear Flower of Scotland, that's pretty epic. That's what dreams are made of.
With her career back on track, Kate's now pedalling towards that dream. Iona Brownlane, STV Sport.
Finally tonight, he's one of the highest earning Scottish sportsmen on the planet, but NFL player Jamie Gillan has never had the chance to play in his homeland. The New York Giants punter signed a fresh contract worth $9 million this year, and with American football taking more games to Europe, he hopes to see the league one day head to Scotland. Here's Jamie Borthwick.
He's flying the flag for Scotland in the NFL, and after agreeing a 3-year contract extension, Jamie Gillan has found a home from home in New York.
Really happy. I was happy, my family's happy. I really enjoy playing for this team, and I've made some great relationships in the building. So when that all came into fruition, I was just super happy and excited to get back to work.
Raised in Inverness and schooled in Edinburgh, the man known as the Scottish Hammer came late to American football after his family moved across the Atlantic. Gillan played for the Giants in London 3 years ago, and the former rugby talent dreams of one day running out at a different stadium close to his heart.
First time I went over was a lot of fun. I mean, getting to play in Tottenham Stadium, it was great, and it would be cool to get back there. I'd love to play in Dublin, or even if we could somehow play in Murrayfield, that'd be cool.
It's been a disappointing 2 years for the Giants on the field, but as the team begins its long preparation for the NFL season start in September, Gillan believes the fresh injection of young talent on the team could spell brighter days ahead.
You know, this is a good time of year to create those relationships too, because we have time to go and play golf afterwards, or we can go and get dinner together and getting to know one another. Because I do believe that's really important in winning games on Sunday, because that you care about one another then, right? And it's not just about business. You've got pals that you're playing with. Everything's looking really good and trending in the right direction. We've just got to keep on top of that and keep doing it.
Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Summer Sale.
No wonder the big man's got a smile on his face. £9 million! We're in the wrong game.
To kick a ball.
Kick a ball. That's us done. No more sport. I'm away for a lie down. See you later, folks. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Ronnie. The weekend weather now from Sean.
Outbreaks of ancient sites will gradually settle into an evening of pizza plates al fresco. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Very good evening to you. Now, you've probably seen on the website we've got some pretty wet weather on the way tomorrow. Heavy, thundery downpours to come. We've seen a lot of showers around today. Most of those have cleared away to the north. Drier with some clear spells around during tonight. Temperatures staying on that higher side. Another muggy night comes central and southern parts. Temperatures about 15, 16 degrees through much of the night. Tomorrow morning we'll start to see that rain coming into the south of the country. The further northwest we go, Lochaber, and also across the Hebrides. Here we've got a lot of dry and bright weather. Call Tyree looks as if we might just hang on to that sunshine and drier weather until later on in the afternoon. But elsewhere, extremely wet, especially central, southern and eastern parts. This swathe of the country here has the risk of some quite thundery downpours. In some spots, we could get as much as around 40 to maybe 60 millimetres of rain tomorrow. That is a lot of rain, and put that into context for you, across central and eastern parts, that's near enough what we get in a month. So a lot of rain to come and the risk of flooding. The weather a wee bit better on Sunday for many of us, especially further east, but there'll still be some showers across western parts. Lochaber, the Fort William area, it does look as if the weather's going to stay quite showery into next week, but with high pressure coming in by the middle of the week, we'll lose most of those showers back to better weather. Also the same around Glasgow and North Lanarkshire. We hang on to the showers. The worst of the weather is going to certainly be tomorrow. Showers around into next week, but for all of us, turning much drier the middle to the end of the week.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, what would you do with £208 million? Well, that might be the question facing one lucky winner tonight when a record Euro Millions jackpot goes up for grabs. Here's Vidushi Tiwari.
That's right, John. Now, it's a question that we've all asked ourselves. You'll know yourself, we've been talking about this in the newsroom all day. And so today I thought I'd bring it to the streets of Glasgow to ask these people how they would feel if they won the £208 million jackpot up for grabs tonight, and what's the one thing that they would buy?
Probably just quit my job and go on a long holiday. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't be standing here talking to you. I'd be well on it.
Oh, I'd pay off all my debt.
Nothing fun?
No, just debt.
What would you do if you won the Euro Millions?
What I do? I would have a great time.
Don't really have many needs, but probably buy a new car. My car's getting older, but apart from that, no.
And just chill, go on holidays, travel, the good stuff.
Pretty vanilla, I'm gonna tell you God's honest truth, yeah, so this big mansion maybe.
If I win, I buy all this gold.
Lovely.
Well, we can dream. That's it from all of us. Enjoy your weekend. Good night.